In this video, I want to break down step by step how to transition from BIM modeling to BIM coordination with no prior industry experience using my three-phase BIM blueprint. And this is specifically for you if you've been working for a few years as a draftsperson or a BIM modeler and you're starting to feel stuck and stagnant in your career. And the reason that I know this system works is because I was personally able to engage in the design and coordination of hospitals, prisons, aged care, schools, luxury apartments, houses, all over $500 million within the first 12 months of working full-time in the industry. And just so you know the scale of the projects that I've worked on, here are some examples just so you understand. Some of the projects that I've worked on is, you can search this up, this is called New Grand, which is an apartment complex in Melbourne, Australia. And this is a luxury apartment complex. These cost like $5 million. You can actually have your car go into an underground basement, and then there's an elevator which brings the car all the way to the top story where you can actually have your car inside your house. So these cost they cost a lot. Another example of a project is this Mercy expansion ED, like the emergency department, which I developed and I did the BIM coordination for. So I coordinated all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, hydraulics, all these services with the BIM model to make sure that everything was clash free before we actually went on site and we built this, right? And so this is actually getting built right now. But this is another scale and type of project that I've coordinated in the past. And sometimes you don't actually have the BIM model, so I actually have to go on site. You only get half the BIM models. This is for St. Vincent's Private Hospital in Australia, and I actually go on site and I measure things with lasers and tape measures and mark things up and make sure everything is actually coordinated properly, because sometimes these projects are from like the 1950s, 1960s where we didn't even use AutoCAD and we don't even have those drawings anymore. So you use half of the BIM model, you go and you use your coordination skills and management skills on site, and you make sure everything is sort of tied together so that you can actually go and be installed on site and coordinated. And that's the type of scale of project that I work with right now, right? And so why did I even make this shift, right? When I initially worked as a BIM modeler, my job got really repetitive and boring. I felt mentally drained after a day of work. I started to lose the passion that I had for my career, and I couldn't envision myself going down that path for the next decade. So I felt stuck in my career. I felt like I was wasting my potential, and I was starting to feel really comfortable, and I was getting really uncomfortable with that I was getting comfortable, right? And so this is what actually drove me to want to grow quicker in my career, but I didn't want to take the traditional slow lane career path because I'm not the type of person who's happy with repetitive work over and over again. Even for like a year and a half or 2 years, I was not happy with that. So I wanted to learn and grow as quick as possible. So what I saw a unique opportunity in the market. I realized that BIM coordinators and managers, they seem to have fast progression, salary, the life balance that I wanted. And the career progression, because it's such a high income skill, was so much faster than the traditional route, the traditional architecture or engineering or drafting route. It was much quicker, this BIM coordination, BIM management pathway. So I thought, okay, let me take advantage of the AI and digital revolution, which is happening, right? And so I realized the AI and digital revolution is changing the whole industry. I also saw that the BIM industry was going to double in the next 5 years, right? And so you don't ever see an industry like architecture, engineering, or any industry that's actually going to double in the next 5 years. This is unique because this is specific to technology and AI and this digital revolution that's coming. And so I realized, right, even Charles Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor is it the most intelligent. It's actually the one that's most adaptable to change. So I wanted to learn this skill set and actually apply it so that I can grow quicker than everyone else and I can actually accelerate my career quicker, right? And so after I became a BIM coordinator, I actually finally started to feel passionate towards my work. So then I started sharing my knowledge on YouTube and helping others make the same transition. And with my unique system that I shared, here are some examples of what actually started to happen, right? So Arusha became a BIM coordinator in London with zero experience. It was interesting because she actually came to me and she quit a job within the first 30 days of joining my program because she hated how much lack of growth there was in her current job. And 2 months after that, she actually landed a job as a BIM coordinator in London. So that was a really good transformation she made as well. Diego got made redundant and became a BIM coordinator in Australia within 30 days of getting made redundant. So he actually saw this coming due to the lack of work. Even though he got made redundant, he actually went on to landing a better position because he knew this skill set. Jana became a BIM coordinator in Europe within 90 days, and she had never worked in Europe before and she didn't know Dutch, so she was already at a disadvantage, but we positioned her as a really skilled individual that knew this skill set, so she was able to make this transition and grow much quicker, right? There's other examples like Ty, who went from landscape architecture to BIM coordination in London. Eureka actually became a BIM coordinator straight out of university. She studied architecture. She had no prior industry experience, but she was able to become a BIM coordinator in a digital engineering company. Betty landed 2 BIM coordination interviews from a contracting and consulting company in the UK. The reason I've actually added this is because she actually had her first interview this morning, or yesterday morning, and she messaged me this morning saying that she passed on to the final interview. So now we're working together in order to get her into the job because she has the final interview, right? So she said this is the first time she messaged me, like last week. She said she had an interview next week. She has 2 interviews, one from a contractor company, one from a consulting company. So I added that to this list. So you can, because it's the most recent, one of my most recent students, right? So there's more examples. You can check out my Instagram and my YouTube. It'll get too long if I try to break everything down each case by case on this video, but you can go to my YouTube. I have client success interviews, and I also have a lot of results here on my Instagram. You go check it out if you want to, but that's not what the purpose of this video is. The purpose of this video is to share the system that you can implement so you can actually take advantage of this opportunity the same way I did, the same way my clients did, early before everyone else does, right? And I want you to take advantage of this digital construction and this AI revolution that's shaping the industry and changing the way everything is sort of the landscape of the industry, pretty much. So the reason I'm actually making this video, just to be clear with you, is I actually help people like you become BIM coordinators and finally break past career plateaus and stagnation. You might not know this about me, but I actually like teaching as much as I do BIM, if you can probably tell by the way I'm speaking to you in this camera. I actually built a small tutoring company when I was in high school. When I was in university, I was a teaching associate, so that meant I was in 4th year uni and I was actually teaching 1st year engineering students in labs and workshops, and I had a mic in front of like 100 students and I was like teaching them all these concepts. So I developed a passion for teaching. So when I started working in the industry as a BIM coordinator, I wanted to combine that with my teaching, which is why I'm actually doing this BIM program, this BIM accelerator community, and helping other people achieve the same result, right? And so after this video, if you resonate with the steps and have a growth mindset and want to work with me to achieve this and be part of my BIM accelerator crew, I want to speak to you because I love working with others who actually care about growing and becoming better every day, which is why I even built BIM accelerator in the first place, right? So I'll talk about the next steps later on in this video at the end, but I want you to watch this first, see if you resonate with my way of thinking, my way of doing things, and then I want you to let me know at the end and take the next steps. So the 3-phase BIM blueprint I'm about to share directly solves the biggest challenges you face when trying to grow from your current position to BIM coordination. And after helping architects and engineers make this transition for 2 years now, I've realized there's only 4 reasons why you won't be able to actually make this transition, right? There's only 4 simple reasons why you can't make this transition. Number 1, you're relying on your current company to learn. And so there's no opportunity to develop skills in your current company. Number 2 is you're getting rejected in the application stage for higher level positions, because you might be thinking, okay, there's no opportunity for me to learn in my current company. Let me try and apply for better roles in better companies. So when you go and you apply for BIM coordination, management positions, you're not getting accepted because you have no experience. That's what they say. So then you think, okay, even if you actually do get the interviews because of some referral or something like that, you get rejected in the interview because you're lacking confidence. So you get a referral, you get an interview, you go to the interview and you actually don't even get it because like they might have taken you to the interview, but you don't have the confidence to speak. They ask you all these situational questions and you can't answer them, right? And so you still get offered modeling roles because the way your skills are perceived in the market. So the way that your profile, your CV, your portfolio is perceived is that you are a BIM modeler. So you're pigeonholed into the same thing over and over again, even when you try and break past. So this makes you think that, okay, I'm stuck. Like you're at this ceiling, you're at this plateau, and you actually can't, you're like hitting your head against that ceiling, right? And so all we have to do is very simple, this is very simple logic. All we have to do is we have to develop your skills, we have to gain you experience, we have to increase your confidence, and we have to change the way you're perceived in the market. That's fundamentally just the 4 things we have to do in order, and we just have to flip it, right? Just do what's not working, we flip it in order for you to actually achieve the outcome. So to achieve your goal, all we have to do is flip the problem. Let's gain the skills, gain the experience-based knowledge, and I'll tell you what that means in a second. Gain the confidence and position yourself as a BIM expert. Because if you can do those 4 things, you actually are able to get the job, right? And I call this the BIM assessment score. And I want you to look at this really well right now and ingrain this into your eyeballs, because this is what I sort of like talk about in the rest of the video, this BIM assessment score. Hopefully it makes sense for you that skills, experience-based knowledge, confidence, and positioning is what actually allows you to go from your current situation to the management or BIM coordination situation that you actually want to get to, okay? So let's think about how people try to typically do this, right? This might be really simple, but the reason that people fail is also very simple, because this is also a very simple concept. The traditional way is that number one, you might try and get a promotion from your existing BIM modeling role. So let me just continue doing what I'm doing and let me try and apply for better companies, or let me try to apply for internal promotions. And so what happens is you don't ever gain the skills, you don't gain the experience-based knowledge, you don't ever gain the confidence, and you never position yourself as a BIM expert because you don't do any of those four things. Your BIM assessment score is 0, so you never get the job in the first place, right? The probability of you actually getting that, if you actually have none of these four things, of course, is going to be very, very low. So you apply, and you actually never get to the next stage. So it feels like you're just in a loop where you're not getting any result, right? So you might think, okay, let me try and learn some BIM coordination stuff. So you go online, you try and learn all these things, ACC, Solibri, Dynamo, Navisworks, like there's all these like words and all these different programs you can learn, right? Technical programs. And what you realize when you start to learn that is, okay, I'm sort of gaining the skills, but I don't know if they're the right skills. They're not the practical skills. I'm not gaining any practical knowledge because I've never actually implemented this into a real world project, right? I'm not actually even getting the confidence, because if they ask me in the interview, like, tell me a time where you were able to do this and what's your BIM coordination workflow, I still wouldn't know how to answer it because I just know the theoretical knowledge. And I'm still not positioning myself as a BIM expert because, like, yeah, some of my stuff is on my portfolio, but I don't know if it's really resonating with the market right now. I have no idea, right? And so you never implemented this for a real world project, so you don't get confident. So then your BIM assessment score is, again, like 1 out of 4, right? So because of this, you actually never break past those 4 things that we know we need in order for you to get the job. So then you might be thinking, okay, I learned the technical programs, let me learn the management theory, like the ISO BIM standards, the BIM execution plan, everything that everyone says you need to learn, right, as a BIM manager or BIM coordinator. And so what you realize is the exact same things. You never implemented this for a real world project, so you don't ever get confident. No confidence, no industry-based experience. You sort of get the skills, but you don't know if it's the right skills. You don't know if it's the practical skills, and you're not positioning yourself as an expert because then, like, you don't know if it's being perceived by the market correctly, right? Because you have no feedback or evidence. Like, they're not even getting back to you with your job, like when you're applying, they're not even getting back to you with feedback. So how do I know if I'm positioned in the correct way? And so what is the solution, right? Because you might be thinking, okay, this is like the traditional way. This is the way that I have to become a BIM coordinator. What is the solution? Because none of this seems to actually work, right? We need practical real world knowledge. So you gain real world experience and genuine confidence. Because if you don't have a real world experience and genuine confidence, you will never be able to convince someone in an interview, and you will never be able to even get to the interview in the first place. And you will never be able to actually become a BIM coordinator, right? So here, let me break it down for you. Most people see getting a job as the following. They think that it's applying, going to the interview, and landing the job. That's completely wrong, because if you really think about it one level deeper, there's an arrow here and there's an arrow here. That means that there's 2 conversion events. You have to convert from application to going to the interview. There has to be something that happens from going to the interview to landing the job. So what is this conversion event, okay? This is getting the interview and impressing them. From the moment you apply to the moment you get the interview, you actually have to go to the interview. You actually have to get the interview in the first place. So you apply with your CV and portfolio, and that has to be perceived in a specific way for you to get the interview. Then when you go to the interview, you actually have to impress them so that you can land the job. So you have to feel the confidence, you actually have to have the practical knowledge so you can answer the questions, and then you land the job, right? So how does our BIM assessment score apply to this process? Well, we talked about the 4 things, right? Skills, positioning, confidence, experience. The skills and the positioning is what allows you to get the interview in the first place. Because if you position yourself as a skilled person and you actually have all the skills clearly on your CV and your portfolio, you will then convert from application to going to the interview, right? There is a conversion that happens here. If then you go to the interview, and in the interview when you're having it, you portray that you have the confidence and you portray that you have the industry-based knowledge, the experience-based knowledge rather, you can actually land the job, because then you can actually convey to them that you know what you're talking about. And so there has to be a conversion-based event here and a conversion-based event here in order for you to actually go from application to landing the job and growing in your career, all right? You can see that we need to have 4 out of 4 for the BIM assessment score to be able to have the highest probability of success. And if this and this is not there, and this is not there, there is no point even applying, because you can apply to 100 companies and you will get 0 jobs because you just don't have the foundations, you don't have the basics in place. So what's the point of even applying, right? And so what happens when you have the right systems in place is you have the skills, you have the positioning. So that means that when you apply for 10 companies, for example, 10 jobs, you actually get 5 interviews because they look at your CV, they look at your positioning, they feel like you are the right person. So they think, okay, let me actually talk to this guy. And so you then go to the interview, you get 5 interviews. From those 5 interviews, you then have the confidence, you then have the experience-based knowledge. When they ask you the questions, you can answer them situationally, saying that, okay, yes, I know this is how it's done in the industry, this is what I actually need to do. And because of that, you land 2 job offers, right? So there is a healthy conversion from application to landing the job, 20% here. What happens is, what if you don't have the right systems in place or the right foundations in place? What happens is, you apply for 50 roles. Even if you do 5 times the amount of work, you might not get any interviews, or you might only get 1 or 2 interviews because you're lacking the skills and you're lacking the positioning. So there's no conversion that happens from application to going to the interview, right? And so because of that, no matter how much you do, you can do 5 times the amount of work as someone that has the foundations, and you can do 10 times the amount of work as someone has the foundations, but you will get 0 jobs because then you will either get blocked here or you will either get blocked here, where you can't impress them because you don't have the confidence or the experience-based knowledge. And so your goal is to get the foundations right so that when you apply volume to the input, the output actually takes care of itself. So you have to work on these 4 things, the BIM assessment score, in order for you to apply more and actually land the job. This is very simple. This is just fundamental like maths, right? So the reason my system works so well is because we use simple math and simple logic to avoid wasting time and actually get the result in a predictable manner. Everything that I talked about before was maths. So I guide you every step of the way in order to make this work. All right. With the traditional path you're on, you develop no practical skills, which makes you valuable to the market. So how can you expect to really grow if you really don't develop those skills? No one naturally gets out of stagnation doing the same thing they've done. You have to do something different in order for different things to happen, right? And even Albert Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so we have to change something in order for changed results to actually happen. And so your problem isn't the lack of theoretical education. Your problem is the lack of practical knowledge, okay? There's a lot of theoretical education you can take, but none of those things, if I go 2 or 3 slides back up, none of those things are gonna allow you to get your skills, positioning, confidence, and experience in check, which is going to allow this to happen, right? Which is the previous thing, rather than this happening, okay? So it's the lack of practical knowledge which is your problem. So that's why I developed a system which teaches you the practical skills, helps you gain practical industry knowledge, grows your confidence with BIM, and positions yourself as a BIM expert. And if we can do those 4 things, we get the job and we actually grow, right? So this is how we do it. Number 1 is we have practical BIM foundations, right? This means that you understand the basics of BIM so well, the way that it's done in the industry. Number 2 is you have BIM program mastery. This means that you understand how the programs actually work depending on the region you're at, so that when you go to the interview, when they ask you what's your BIM coordination or clash coordination workflow process, you can speak about it as if you have done it hundreds of times, so you have the confidence. Number 3 is acquisition mastery, because there's no point of knowing the first 2 if you can't actually get jobs in the first place. So this is where we then do things like developing a CV, a portfolio, so that it makes people want to reach out and it makes people want to actually take you into their companies and actually interview you in the first place, right? So it's a very simple process that tackles these 4 problems that I talked about. The first phase is the practical BIM foundations. Let me tell you why this is so important. And this is what's lacking in every single thing that you could possibly do in the traditional way that you've been trying to do so far, right? This is where you learn how a BIM coordinator thinks and solves problems. You can't solve coordination problems with a BIM modeler's mind, right? You need to learn the MEP services coordination, the plant room coordination, the reflected ceiling plan coordination, penetration coordination, practical BIM management workflows. Imagine you actually learned that. Let's just say hypothetically, I sat down with you and I told you everything that I know about how to actually do all these 4 or 5 different things. You would be in a position where you would have so much knowledge and so much confidence that you actually know how to do these in a practical real world situation, that going to the interview and speaking to someone would be very natural, as if you have actually done it before, right? Knowing this practical knowledge is what will allow you to speak in interviews with conviction and answer their questions when they ask you questions like, tell me about your clash detection process. How can you tell them if you have actually never done any of this stuff in the past, right? You need insights into the industry so you know how to answer those questions. And so this will develop your skills, and this will develop your confidence, and this will develop your experience-based knowledge, right? What happens if you skip this step? Let's say you ran a company and you interviewed someone. Forget about the companies that are trying to hire you. Let's just say you ran a company yourself and you interviewed someone. And I want you to really think about this. Would you hire someone who doesn't understand the MEP services or the construction process and has never led a meeting before? Right? Even if they had the technical program skills, you probably wouldn't, because you don't want to spend your time training them. Right? That's the biggest thing. You want someone to come in and solve your problems. You don't want someone to come in and you have to teach them more things and it takes more time out of your day, right? You're hiring someone to solve your problems as a company owner. So that's what you need to think about the company when they're trying to hire you. You wouldn't hire someone without that knowledge base. How can you expect them to, right? Companies want you to come in and solve existing problems and serve clients, not to cause any more problems by spending more resources to teach you. You have to come in as an expert, not as a motivated person who wants to learn from them. Because even if you wanted to work for free, you still cost them money because they have to train you. So they want someone good, not someone cheap. So you have to position yourself as the expert so that they want to hire someone good rather than hiring someone cheap and then having to spend more resources to train them, which is uncertain for them if it's even going to work. So learn how to position yourself as an industry expert, because in the eyes of your future company, you're not just an employee, you're the expert that they can go to about BIM. Think about it, right? You're the one helping them manage their whole digital construction process. Like similar to the projects that I mentioned at the start, New Grand, Mercy, St. Vincent's Hospital. Imagine you're the one who's actually doing the coordination process for that. You're the one leading meetings, managing the people, doing the whole digital construction process, making sure that people on site, when they ask you questions, you can actually refer to the model and actually do problem solving, right? Live in the meetings. And if they don't trust you, not just your skills, but your ability to handle problems, they'll never see you as a BIM coordinator. Because it's one thing to just know the practical skills or the technical skills. It's one thing to know the technical skills, like the BIM coordination programs. If you don't actually know how to handle problems, you don't have a track record, you don't know how to actually speak the same language that the people in the construction industry are speaking, how are you able to even handle, do they even have the confidence to allow for them to think that you can handle these problems, right? Trust is built when you become a genuine expert, and they can sense it through your communication. You can't fake this. It's very hard to fake. So remember my client Ty, this worked so well that he was actually able to get the BIM coordination job despite telling the interviewers that he doesn't even know all of the coordination programs they use, but he will learn it in the first week of working. He told them that he will learn it in the first week and he doesn't even know the coordination programs. But the only reason this worked is because he was able to convey the practical industry knowledge that he learned through my program in a way that made him look like an expert. So we took his existing knowledge, I filled in the gaps, we made sure that he knew everything so crystal clear, and that allowed him to come off as an expert. So they realized that the practical experience is the hard thing to get, but he already seems to have this and be an expert at this, right? So they trusted him because he was perceived as an expert. I love how you said that you don't care how or what programs they use because you're going to learn it in 2-3 weeks.
If I could record my interviews, I'll just tell them, look, I don't care what software it is, just let's have it. Let's just do it. So it's just being confident, really, to just say, this is what it is. I'll do it. Just give it to me. And that's what people need to learn to do, is just...
Exactly. If it was the other way around and he only knew the BIM programs and not the practical skills, he wouldn't have been perceived as an expert and trusted to do the job, right? Because it takes longer for you to actually learn the practical skills, problem solving, communication, all of this stuff. And it's easier for you to learn the technical programs, which is what everyone thinks that you have to do in order to become a BIM coordinator, okay? So that's really important for you to understand. Just remember one concept. If a gambler and a billionaire switch minds for a year, but nothing else changes about their life, think about what actually happens, right? The original billionaire who now has the gambler's mind would be broke in a year. The original gambler who now has the billionaire's mind would have made at least a few $1 million by the end of the year. And he might not be a billionaire, but we know for a fact that the original gambler now has the billionaire's mind, so eventually he will also become a billionaire. It's an identity. It's understanding the actual, you can't fake this. It's understanding the real world practical implications of becoming a BIM coordinator that allows you to be on that path and actually gain that knowledge and actually become a BIM coordinator and a manager, right? You can't fake becoming a BIM coordinator. And so we have to change your mind from thinking like a stagnant BIM modeler to an expert coordinator, and the results start to follow naturally, okay? So the second phase of the program is the BIM program mastery. So now you think like a BIM coordinator and have the BIM coordinator's mind. Now is when you learn the BIM coordination programs that will help you on a day-to-day basis. But you can't just learn the basics of each program. You learn the practical implementation and implement it in the same way it's done in the real world. You need to learn the real way of doing things like managing permissions, work sharing, issue management, workflow, federating the model, the different ways that you can federate the model, what it would look like if you were doing this for the consultants, for the subcontractors, for the general contractors, for the BIM consultancies. Like, you need to know all these different combinations and different workflows. And this is where we learn Navisworks, ACC, Celebri, IFC, BIM coordination, workflows, and the BIM execution plan. But we do it in a practical way, not a theoretical way. Because the only thing that a theoretical way is going to allow you to do is not get a job and just make you learn the knowledge, right? It's just education. It's not actually transformation. And so phase 2 is where you prove one thing. You need to prove this, that you don't need guidance to your employer. When companies tell you that you don't have enough experience to get the job, what they really mean is that they don't think you can do the job without asking for help, right? That's all they mean. They don't mean you don't have experience. They mean, I feel like if you come into my company right now, you would ask for so much help that it would not be worth it for me to train you. And it would be a detriment to my current company. That's what they mean when they say, I don't think you have enough experience. And so when you hear the word experience, you make a surface level analysis and think there's no way for you to get the experience. But if you go into the psychological trigger, it comes from a valid concern that they have limited resources to train you, which actually makes total sense. So what we have to do, right, is we don't have to convince anyone to give you a chance. We just have to show them that your knowledge is practical and not theoretical. If you have genuinely become an expert with BIM coordination programs and have learned the way that it's done in the industry through real industry professionals, and you have also implemented it, whatever you explain whenever you explain your BIM coordination process, it will be obvious that you know how to do it. So subconsciously, it will trigger in their mind that you don't need guidance, which makes them want to hire you. And this is how you get out of the you don't have experience trap, is you actually learn it according to the real world implications, and you explain to them in the BIM in the meeting or the interview that this is the knowledge that I have, and it's so clear that you do have the real world experience, right? And so let's recap. Phase 1 is we prove that we are an industry expert. If you can prove that you're an industry expert and then you combine it with phase 2, which is prove that we don't need guidance, right? Fundamentally, if you prove to someone that you're an expert at what you do and you have the confidence and it seems like you don't need any guidance to achieve your tasks or do your day-to-day actions, you can actually get any job you want, because this is just basic human psychology, right? Think about anything that you would let someone do. If they prove they're an expert and they prove that they don't need guidance and they can actually help you and they're confident, you will let them actually help you do the thing, or you'll let them do the thing. It's very, very basic psychology. So remember my client Arushi? This is the system that allowed her to land 2 job offers back to back with no prior coordination experience in London.
Within a week period, I got opportunities from 2 different places. I got this opportunity as a BIM coordinator from a company here in London. From having no offers, I have like 2 offers with me. And I'm deciding. It's really hard to choose which one to pick. But all thanks to Hesh. If he wasn't there, I would have not come to this stage here.
The third phase is acquisition mastery. So if you've done the first 2 phases right, this part is easy. This is where we focus on positioning you as an expert so that you get the interviews in the first place. There's nothing magical about this step, because the real magic happens when you actually build the practical skills in phase 1 and in phase 2. Phase 3 is about showcasing this on your portfolio and positioning yourself as an expert so you have the opportunity to get an interview in the first place. After you get the interview, the knowledge you developed will sell itself, right? And it will become very easy for you to pass through the interview stage. But in order for you to get into the interview stage, you need to position yourself as an expert in the field so you actually get the BIM coordination jobs in the first place, the interviews. And so we will position you as a Revit and BIM expert. Companies will be compelled to have a chat with you. We'll create a Revit portfolio like this, a BIM coordination portfolio like this, showing that you've done a project before, you've actually been able to create a federated model, you understand how the ACC or Navisworks or whatever program you need to use works, and then you understand the BIM coordination hierarchy. If you can show this to an employer, they will actually be compelled to at least bring you over to have a chat, and then you can do the rest of the work, which means that you can showcase your actual practical skills, given that you've done phase 1 and phase 2, in order for you to achieve this result, right? So remember my client Diego, he got made redundant and just bought his house that month. So he had a mortgage to pay and no job, all right? He started applying as a BIM coordinator, and from the first 3 companies he applied, he got interviews for all 3 and got offers from 2 of them.
I think total now 3 interviews. The opportunity for my second interview came up. In the same week of receiving that, I had a phone call interview from another company, and that was Revit specialist, again, BIM coordinator with a focus with like AI and that. If I didn't make that step to get in contact with you and us going back and forth, I would have been stressed out.
And the reason he had such a high conversion rate was because the way his skills were positioned in the market. And so this is why it works, is when you create a portfolio and you position yourself as such a skilled individual, companies will be asking you to actually work for them. And he was a drafts person. He was never working as a BIM coordinator, but getting made redundant actually put him in a better position to actually get a promotion and actually grow in his career. And now he's a BIM coordinator. He actually got a job offers from both of them, right? And so in simple terms, you've seen it. The people who grow with ease, who love their jobs, get paid the most, and have real work-life balance, they're not more talented. They're just adapted to the unique needs of the market at the right time. They have the practical skill set that does the persuasion for them, right? A skill set that positions you as an expert and builds trust, proves your capacity to handle complex situations with no guidance, and turns rejections into when can you start. And so you need to change the way that you're perceived in the market in order for you to grow forever, right? So if you want to wake up every morning with excitement about your job and you're ready to make this change, let's have a chat. I work with around 18 people at once in my program to help them learn the complete BIM skill set and help them land BIM coordination jobs in around 90 days. And so what I want you to do is find a time below so you can speak to me and we can get on a quick Zoom call. And in the program, we're going to implement my 3-phase BIM blueprint. I'll give you all the resources you need and create a custom roadmap for you to complete each week. It will take 60 minutes a day, right? And you'll be able to be supported in the following ways. I'll give you the things that you need to do every single week for around 3 months. And in the meantime, you can private message me whenever you need. You can ask questions from the other BIM coordinators in the community. You can jump on weekly calls and ask me directly, right? And so at the end of the 3-month period, you will have completed the 3 phases that I just talked about. You will be positioned in a really nice way. And I will then help you with interview questions and the application process so that you can eventually achieve the goal, right? So you'll be in the right path. So just book a call down below and I'll see if I can help you. The purpose of the call is more of a diagnostic, right? I don't like accepting people into the program if I don't believe they actually are able to achieve this result in their career, in the stage of their career. So what we're going to do is we'll figure out if you even have a good enough background and experience for this system to work, similar to all my other clients that I've talked about. And if I think you're a good fit, I'll invite you to work with me directly and be part of the program. And if I think you're not ready yet, you still walk away with knowing exactly what to fix. You can go, you can learn the specific things. I'll give you some things to do and you can fix it. You can come back to me later when you're ready and we can get started, right? And so we are in the midst of a digital and AI revolution. So we need to adapt to the market fast. Answer those questions below and we'll position you as an expert for years to come.